I'm Kate, a senior at Emerson College, and for my entire life, I've been told that drugs are bad. Regardless of which ones you take, be it marijuana, psychedelics, or any other form, it all results in addiction. But upon arriving at university, and after taking several psychology classes, I've learned over time that not all drugs are bad. There are some that are beneficial for people who face severe anxiety, post-traumatic stress disorder, depression, and even those who've been fighting addiction for years. This type of drug has also fascinated me for over several years, as I've heard people, including some of my closest friends, talk about how a single trip on mushrooms, LSD, or ayahuasca changed their entire outlook on life. I was extremely intrigued when this one friend told me about how she started planning things in advance and started having deadlines for the personal projects that she'd been working on. Prior to this, she was rather spontaneous and didn't really plan ahead in advance. I was intrigued by how psychedelics could change one's perception of reality, giving them a deeper understanding of who they truly are and who they want to be. So in this documentary, we're going to explore the different stages of taking one of my favorite psychedelics, LSD, also known as acid.
Can we get much higher?
To truly understand what acid does to your mind, we have to understand why people take this form of psychedelic drug in the first place. Although I knew that acid was illegal in Massachusetts, and in practically all states in the US, it didn't stop me from taking the drug to explore what more I had to offer in this world. Just like me, millions of others constantly feel as if they are not achieving the goals they have set for themselves. They either lack time or simply fall lazy. One of the top reasons as to why people take psychedelics, specifically acid, is because they have a constant sense of hopelessness. They don't know what they are currently doing or what they want to do or achieve, and so, as a result, they believe that taking psychedelics can help them alter their thinking, making them have realizations that they never had before. People also take LSD to feel euphoric, upbeat, and refreshed. On the contrary, people can take LSD and shrooms just to feel something. Just like I did, if I'm being completely honest. I knew that there were positives to taking it, but I didn't really have anything in mind that I had any doubts about. Rather, I just wanted to sit back, chill out, and as people say, trip balls. My friends in general are extremely supportive, and so when I told my best friend Deep that I wanted to do acid, he was more than supportive of my decision and asked if there was any way he could help. Once I convinced my mind enough that it was absolutely necessary for me to try acid, my mind simply shifted from, "Are you sure you want to do this?" to, "I absolutely cannot wait to do this drug." I remember when I bought a tab from this friend. She specifically told me that I should be careful, and if it's my first time, I should definitely have someone with me, kind of like trip sitting, so that if anything went wrong, I would have some support in the moment. I called up one of my best friends and asked if she was free to hang. She immediately said yes and came over to my apartment. I had a flow of thoughts running through my head. I didn't really know what to expect, yet was extremely excited to see where the drug took me. My besties and I have this inside joke where we always say there will be no pill popping today, which essentially was a way of us saying no to something that we didn't want to do. But as I placed the tab under my tongue, she immediately said, "There will certainly be some pill popping today." I laughed extremely hard, and that somewhat got me in an extremely good, uplifted mood. I was ready to take on whatever LSD had to throw at me. Within the first half an hour of ingesting acid, I started to feel extremely sick, and my tummy was hurting. I hadn't eaten anything that day because of the amount of work I had. Right after taking the tab, I ate some food as I was hungry, but soon enough, I realized that food too tasted yucky. It was as if my taste buds had disappeared. I also feel like this is a good spot to introduce my good friend Kobe, who also had a similar experience as I did.
Yeah, I got diagnosed with ADHD when I was a pretty young kid. I believe I was around 2, which is fairly young for children to get diagnosed with. Usually it's around like ages 5 and 6 during like a properly monitored educational process. And it's funny how that happened. I was 2, around 2 years old, and I had this train track. And when I played with this train track, I would put all the tracks in the same position. I would put all the train cars on the position, same starting location, same speed, everything. Every single time. It did not matter. And my dad's like, it's a little weird for the kid to do. So I'm going to mess with the train tracks to see if there's anything I should worry about. I go in, I react, I go wham, 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 wham. And Dad's like, all right, we need to take him to a neurospecialist. Neurospecialist is like, you don't have autism, but you have ADHD. So here's some Ritalin to start, which will later go into methylphenidate for the next, I want to say, 7 years. Ritalin, it was a lot more efficient at calming me down, allowing me to focus, but that came at a price. That came at a price of, appetite. I was feeling pretty down afterwards. A lot of give, a lot of take. Methylphenidate was more of a caffeine pill, but after 4 hours, I'd be like, just some energy levels down. And I tried my best to not let that deter from my genuine want of using psychedelics. My genuine want of trying to see if these psychedelics, help my brain out, see how it would react with the ADHD, what would happen just in general.
My hallucinations kicked in about 2 hours after taking the tab. I noticed at first when the building in front of me was a bit curved at the corner, and as the trip progressed, I realized that everything around me was breathing and moving. It wasn't just that things were moving, but rather as if my brain was trying really hard to think of things that I had been up to recently.
At the start when I took acid, I was feeling genuinely really nauseous, and that lasted for a little bit. But as soon as the acid trip started hitting like that peak emotional level, is when I truly felt the effect of it. I felt when usually with ADHD, I feel like all my thoughts are going like this, back and forth, speed. But with acid, it was like this. And everything felt slower and more at a normal speed. And that allowed me to really look within myself and, see what better emotions I need to deal with, see how to maintain them, see how to live a very happy, fulfilled life,
My thoughts were going up and down like a mountain, with big ups and euphoric moments, and some downs which taught me lessons that I had to learn. I learned that there were several changes that I needed to make in my life. I didn't even realize that I had to make these changes. It was just like,
I need you, I need you, I need you. I need to make you see.
I remember asking my bestie how long it had been since I'd taken the tab, as I still felt like I was on the psychedelic. However, the effects of it had reduced majorly. This was 5 hours into the trip, and that's when I realized that right after you hit your peak euphoric moment, that's when the effect really slows down. I felt more in control of my thoughts, and honestly, I felt a little weird, but more in control of everything I was just doing in general. I was no longer staring at the lights, or even the dark corners in my apartment. When I was peaking, I felt like a little explorer. With every room that I entered, be it my kitchen or even my restroom, I would find something amusing that would keep me there. But now, I felt tired, and as if I was simply just waiting for the trip to end. The main highs were done with. One of my major takeaways from doing acid was just how much I learned about myself through the trip. At different stages, I felt more in touch with, different forms or versions of myself. It was as if I resonated with different personalities during the peak. At one point, I felt more in tune with my thoughts, and in another, I felt as if I was in a complete panic situation. One of my biggest realizations, and I'm sure for you too, was my friend Kobe. Although Kobe's experience sounds like something that truly changed his perspective on his ADHD, what if I told you that Kobe isn't real? Kobe was just one of the many identities that I resonated with during my trip. I'm not saying everything about that story is fake. In fact, nothing about it is. Just the character himself. I truly was diagnosed with ADHD. Oh, and another thing, the girl on the screen is not really me. This is what I look like. Coming out of my trip, I learned that we as human beings don't really have one identity. In fact, as we grow older, we constantly keep changing identities. High school Kate was completely different than college Kate. In fact, freshman Kate was very different from senior year Kate. As we grow older, we learn new things about ourselves. We have new understandings, new hobbies, and new likings. This doesn't mean that it's a bad thing. Change is constantly happening all around us, and so if we change our identity, what's the problem with that? In no way am I saying that anyone should take my trip as advice to do acid themselves. In no way am I telling anyone to use any form of drugs, but I wanted to share my truthful experience about how I felt about using acid. Happy tripping!